I teased something going to the break, and I want to tell you this. So there's a piece on NFL team building that's going to include our stat of the day as well. Let's get our stat of the day. It's brought to you by Empire Electric. Stat of the day brought to you by Empire Electric, and they're your residential neighborhood electrician. Visit empireelectricians.com. Okay, so the stat of the day is about the Rams. And it's a team-building stat, and it's going to kind of lead into another conversation. I just found something super interesting about the Rams, which is that in 2023, so not last year, but the year before, the Rams had 14 draft picks. Mm-hmm. They drafted 14 rookies. Yep. All 14 made the roster.
Wow.
They tied an NFL record. The next season, at cutdown, 19 of the 24 rookies drafted over 2 years made the roster. So in 2 years, the Rams, this is one of the funny things about the Rams, and this is one of the funny things about perception versus reality. When you think about the Rams, what do you think about? GM less need?
How they traded all their draft picks away.
Bleep them picks.
Yeah.
Don't need picks.
Yep.
Actually, the Rams are the most homegrown team there is. They have a lot of picks. In 2 years, 19 out of 24 draft picks made the roster. Mm-hmm. And this big article that I read from the San Francisco Standard is where it is, sanfranciscostandard.com. It's by David Lombardi. And it's about the Niners, who, if you've been noticing the Niners, what are they doing? Losing everybody. All these players are leaving. Debo might be the most high profile. Jordan Mason.
That was the most recent one.
They're just, people are gone.
They're talking about trading Ayuk again.
Yeah. And the takeaway is, there's a quote in this article from the Jaguars GM. Now, if you don't know the Jaguars GM, he is young.
Yeah, he looks like he's 20.
Yeah. GM James Gladstone said, if you add a veteran at this point, he could just be standing in the way. We're going to allow these rookies to get a chance to get out on the field and help us this coming fall. And that's what the Rams did. Basically, the team build model from the Rams, and I'm sure other teams are doing it, but the article's just like looking into the Rams. And I wanted to start thinking about this for the Bills. They intentionally left spots open on their roster and did not sign guys because they don't want those guys to be in the way. The Bills have 10 draft picks. It feels a little bold, or you might feel uncomfortable with the idea of, what if the Bills just left 10 positions open? Mm-hmm. The entire secondary is open, or a linebacker and 2 guards. Mm-hmm. Leave them open. There are no veterans in the way. You draft your guys, and then boom, put them in. Because you want to get younger, that's the way to do it. You sign your big money guys, and you let the young pool of talent that is cheap, and there's a lot of it, especially if you have to have a lot of picks to do this. You can't do this with 4 picks.
Right.
But the Bills, I don't think, are doing this right now. Not that they have to be. But it is definitely interesting because, to me, so much of the salary cap talk is about the guys at the top and how they're not worth it. And the traps are probably with guys in the middle, paying guys that are not huge difference makers big money because you feel safer about them than you would a draft pick. And the Rams would, the way that it's wrapped up, this article about the Rams from David Lombardi, LA was willing to lower its short-term floor so that it could raise its long-term ceiling. In a young man's league, the fresh upside of drafted talent, even if it needed some time to develop, was king. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, the Bills are in Josh Allen's prime window, so everything has to be measured on that.
Right.
But last year was a transition year. Mm-hmm. And the rookie class did not have huge contributions.
No. How many even really played?
Dwayne Carter, non-factor at the end. Cole Bishop.
Coleman played a lot. But like even like just say like opportunities to develop. Coleman had it. Bishop didn't.
Right.
Carter didn't. Ray Davis really didn't. Cedric Van Pran Granger never played. Eddie Ulofoshio never played. Javon Solomon, a very slight amount.
The Rams' idea would be, especially in the case of Bishop this year probably just gets that chance.
Yeah.
But the Rams' model last year is DeMar Hamlin's just not in the way.
Right.
No one's going to be in the way. The rookies are going in, and it might hurt right now, but the idea is we like these guys.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of on-the-job training, and it's about I mean, Hamlin might not be the best example because he was cheap to begin with, but don't sign a
Well, it would have been, by this logic, the Rams faced with the same training camp decision, a guy even that's been there in Damar Hamlin versus second-round rookie, the Rams' logic would have been, we're putting the rookie in even if he's not better right now. Even if we know, hey, he's going to give us some mistakes early in the season, we're going to do it. What's almost more impressive about the Rams' willingness to do that is, like you mentioned how the Bills are in Allen's window, might feel tougher to do something like that as a strategy. The Rams have a 37-year-old quarterback that you would think they're trying to wring out every last bit of contention with him, and they're still saying the opposite. They go from one extreme to the other. Right?
Well,
they used to be. They went 8 years without a first-round pick, and it was, let's trade for Jalen Ramsey, and let's trade for Beckham, and let's trade for Von Miller, and let's sign this guy, and this guy, and this guy. Let's trade for Stafford. And now, are all their good players homegrown, except for Stafford? Puka was a draft pick.
Devontae Adams
was a draft pick. Well, they did sign Adams, that's right.
But no,
but most of them, like the core group of the team now, right, is draft pick guys, and that was not true of them 3 years ago.
Right. It kind of reading the article about it and hearing the Jags talk about this too. The Jags GM is young, like he might feel this way too. It reminds me of the fantasy football, formula where you'd say studs and duds. Like draft the best, go out and get the absolute number one running back, number one receiver, number one quarterback that you can, and then take flyers. It's almost like a zero RB strategy. Hey, by the time the season comes around, I know you think all these guys are safe, but some draft picks are going to pop and be better than those players. And is this much different? Didn't the Chiefs do this? They had one draft class where everybody made it, and everybody made a difference.
Right after they traded Hill.
Yeah. For the Bills, that might be the class actually with Elam, where it's Cook and Bernard and Shakir. And one of the ways to get those draft classes to produce results is A, for it to be very good, and the other is for no one to be in their way. Shakir, maybe in the case of Shakir, it took some time to become what he was going to become. Or maybe he was just needing the opportunity, needing to be used in the right way. Terrell Bernard, right? They draft Terrell Bernard. There's guys in his way. Why do you need this guy? What's he here for? I understand player growth is going to be a part of it, but I found it really interesting, the idea of do not fill your roster and burn up your cap with middling vets. Get them out of the way and draft a bunch of young players. Sign your studs, pay them a lot, bring up the cheap labor. And that's the Jags talking about that. That's the Niners, and here are the Rams. So I thought it was interesting.
The Bills don't appear to be doing this, though. Well, we'll see. They've signed
a couple guys, but they have some holes, and they have a bunch of picks.
They have 10 draft picks. But they have a first, 2 seconds, 2 fourths, 2 fifths, 3 sixths.
And there's virtually no chance that all 10 make the team. None. Think of that number. The Rams had 14 picks, and they all made the team.
That's what's really incredible.
And to say that doesn't even mean they were all good. It means they had that many spots. They went into the draft with 14 spots, drafted 14 guys.
Like if you look at the Bills roster, Bills draft history, year over year, how many guys made the team out of their first camp? Last year, 3 draft picks didn't make the Bills' final 53-man roster from that draft. The year before, 3 didn't make the roster, including one. I think Alex Austin starts for New England now at corner. Not like he's great. The year before that, Ariza is one of these. That was a different situation. But then Luke Tenuta, it's a 6th-round pick, didn't make the team. Year before that, 2 more draft picks, 3 more draft picks, didn't make the team. Like it's 2 or 3 every year.
Sure, and it's that
don't make it.
It's worth pointing out. It's because it's hard to make the team because you have a better roster.
Right.
In this case, you're seeing a couple franchises decide we will leave the spots open for the guys to go into. Mm-hmm. And that's a little gamble.
It's a gamble, and like maybe the Rams are different for this because, again, like Stafford's at a different point. The Jaguars, though, should have a much easier time going down that road, shouldn't they? Because they're not competing for a Super Bowl right now. They're not on the final doorstep trying to figure out a way to get over that last hump. Like they're trying to figure out why they can't make the playoffs. Is like they're starting from a completely different starting point than the Bills are, and that's where it would take some stones, I think, to do a strategy like that and go through free agency and the trade market and we're just not going to do anything because we're going to plug in our 5th round rookie's going to play. when you're trying to beat the Chiefs.
I hope you're
ready.
ready.
You've been in the AFC Championship game.
I hope you're ready. I'm about to be bullish on the Jags. Their GM is young and bright. Their coach just took Baker Mayfield to new heights in the Tampa offense. He might be a little odd.
He says Duval in a very weird way, at least.
Yeah, well,
Duval.
That's right. He did need a second crack at doing the Duval chant.
He needs to figure out how to do Duval. But
Brian Thomas Jr., Trevor Lawrence, he says they're going to run the offense through Brian Thomas Jr.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. He's a star.
I'd pick them to win that division right now.
That's you've got to hit on your early picks really to make that work. Mm-hmm. They've got to be studs. And those two teams so far, they're off to good starts. The Jaguars draft Brian Thomas. He looks like he's going to be a star. And the Rams with Jared Verse. Jared Verse looks like he's going to be one of the best defensive linemen in the league for a long time. So the Bills have good, again, this is they have good players, but they don't have great smash. This guy's going to be an all-pro level draft picks in years. And I'll be much more open, or to me it sounds more appetizing, the idea of let's go all in on rookies and young players and let them go through their lumps. If you told me, at 30 they're gonna hit on it, they're gonna hit a home run. The guy at 30 is gonna be a Jared Verse level player. Then I feel like it's gonna work great. But if the guy's gonna be a Keon Coleman level player, then I feel like I'd be a little worried about it.
Well, that's the point. You got to give guys the chance to grow. And for Coleman,
he had a chance.
Let's say he didn't get hurt. Is he in the Rams model? Mac Hollins is not getting in his way. You're out there. Go play. We will deal with it. We're going to deal with the warts.
He did play, didn't he?
He did play.
He played a lot. He led the team in snaps almost every game he played.
Did play. They also brought
except the playoff game.
They also brought in Cooper because they thought he wasn't good enough and needed established fat. Again, I'm not saying one is right, one is wrong.
Yep.
But it really is to leave spots unattended and say we're going to fill them in the draft. Which, when we sit here and look at one spot, whoa, guys, corner 2 right now.
Right.
You got to draft him. The Rams have done that with half of the roster.